Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
It's great to be here.
Today we're tackling a really important topic, something that I think affects so many of us in different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Parental leave policies.
Big one.
We're going to be looking at how the United States stacks up against other developed countries around the world.
That sounds fascinating.
And using some data from the OECD.
Ah, the OECD.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
Yes.
So we'll be diving into that, and I think some of you might be pretty surprised by what we find.
It is really eye-opening, especially when you see the data laid out like this. It really reveals different cultural values and priorities around the world.
In the data skies, we take our flight. Trends and numbers come to life. Colors and charts, they dance and play. Showing truth in a visual way. In GenderDecoded, we uncover truths and stories like no other. In the data waves we find the secret maps of humankind.
All right, let's dive into something we've all probably thought about at some point. Parental leave policies.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
It is. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty using some data from the OECD.
The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, yep. A lot of developed countries.
Exactly. We'll see how different countries handle this whole parental leave thing. And, spoiler alert, the U.S. is a bit of an outlier.
Yeah, outlier is one way to put it. Globally, the U.S. really stands out, and not in a good way.
Lay it on us.
Okay, so of the 41 countries in this OECD data, the U.S. is the only one that doesn't mandate any paid leave for new parents, like at the national level.
Seriously. Zero. Zilch. I mean, some countries offer over a year, right?
Right. And even the country with the least amount still gives 2 months. Makes the U.S. look kind of, well...
Behind the times.
Yeah, maybe. It really shows you how differently countries think about work-life balance. And about families, too.
Like, in the U.S., it's almost assumed new parents just bounce back to work, no problem.
Which, let's be real, isn't how it works for most people.
Not even close. Yeah. So, okay, we have this huge GE gap globally. But it's not just about the total time off, right? Mm-hmm. What about when we break it down? Maternity, paternity, parental leave. What do we see?
Well, one thing that pops out is, in 20 of those 41 countries, most of the paid leave. It's for moms only.
So it's still pretty traditional.
Very much so. Points to how caregiving is still viewed in a lot of places.
And it's not even most. In some cases, it's all the leave. 6 countries, like Canada, Israel, a few others, 100% to mothers. Fathers, nada.
Yep. Makes you think, how are those dads supposed to bond with their baby, help their partner?
Huge G questions about what we expect from moms and dads, right? Like, are we really all about shared caregiving these days?
Something to think about as we dig through this data. It's not just numbers, it's about our values.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Even with those old school models, things are shifting a bit. Paternity leave specifically is growing. 34 out of 41 countries offer it now.
True, but there's a catch. A lot of times, this paternity leave, it's super short. 2 weeks or less, often.
Okay, a step, but a tiny one.
Exactly. Not really enough time for a dad to adjust to, well, being a dad. Or bond with their kid.
But hold on, there are some rockstar exceptions. Japan, they give 30 weeks of their total leave, JGST, to fathers. 30 weeks.
Amazing, right? And Korea, they're around 15 weeks for dads. Those are the standouts.
But somebody's getting it right.
They are. Portugal, Norway, a few others too. They're at 2 months or more for new dads. Fascinating to see such different ways of doing things.
Makes you wonder how families work in those places, even how workplaces are different.
It's all connected.
All right, let's bring it back home to the U.S. No federal mandate, we know that.
Yeah.
But it's not like the whole country is a parental leave wasteland. There's more to the story, right?
100%. When the OECD did their analysis, they used this thing called full rate equivalent.
Kitschy?
Right. Basically, it looks at how much of your wages are covered during leave, not just how long the leave is.
So more accurate.
Way more. And here's where it gets really interesting. The U.S. might be lagging nationally, but 5 states have their own WN paid leave programs.
Wait, really? Yeah. California, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, and D.C., they're doing their own thing. Plus, Washington State just passed a law. It'll be in effect soon.
So movement at the state level, even without the feds.
Exactly. This is classic U.S., right? Decentralized. States get to experiment with social policies, could even lead to changes nationwide someday.
Love it. Okay, A&D, there is a bill in Congress right now, 12 weeks paid leave for federal workers.
Huge if it passes. It already got through the House, might even have enough support in the Senate to reach President Trump.
Fingers crossed.
Right. Even just for federal workers, this would be a big shift in how we think about parental leave in the U.S. Could it push more states to make their own laws? Who knows? Definitely worth keeping an eye on. It's a bit like a testing ground, isn't it? Different states, different approaches. Maybe one of them cracks the code, then the whole country follows.
That's the dream. It really shows you how complex this whole thing is, right? We think parental leave, and it seems simple, but...
Oh, there are so many layers. Exactly. But beneath all that complexity, something's happening. People are talking about this more, wanting better policies, and we're starting to see action, both at the state level and maybe federally, too.
It gives me hope, I'll be honest. For a while, it felt like the U.S. was stuck, but now...
Like a wave building, right. Starting small, but who knows how big it could get.
Exactly. Social change. It's rarely a straight line. Sometimes it takes this kind of ground-up pressure to really make a difference.
Love that analogy. Okay, we've covered a ton. Global stuff, types of leave, those crazy gender gaps, and, of course, the U.S. being the U.S. If we had to sum it up, what are the takeaways for our listeners, the things to really remember?
Well, first and foremost, that the U.S. really is the odd one out here. Almost every other developed country gets it. They understand that new families need this support.
It's more than just giving parents a break, though, right? It's about bonding time, letting moms recover from childbirth, taking some of that financial stress away. It's good for everyone, long term.
Couldn't have said it better. Another big takeaway. It's not the same everywhere globally. Some countries, it's still very mom-focused, traditional roles. Others are trying to make things more equal, recognizing how important dads are, too.
We've seen everything from Estonia giving over a year and a half to Japan basically saying, hey, dads, take 30 weeks. Wild, right? Like the world is trying out different ways to parent and work at the same time.
Each country finding its own balance. And don't forget, Change IS happening. Even in the U.S., states are going for it. And federally, well... we've got that bill to watch. Might be slow, but at least things are moving.
Yeah, so much is still uncertain. The future of parental leave in the U.S. Who knows what it'll look like, but that's kind of exciting, right? So I want to ask you, our listener, what stood out to you so far? What are you thinking about?
This is where it gets really cool, because it's not just tea about what politicians decide, right? It's about what we want as individuals, as a society. What do we value?
That's empowering, but also a bit daunting. Where do we even start making a difference?
Honestly, just staying informed is huge GE. Keep learning about this. Look at what other countries are doing. Understand how things work in the U.S., both at the state level and nationally. The more you know.
The better you can argue about it at Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly. No, but seriously, it equips you to have real conversations, to advocate for change.
Yeah, those conversations matter. Tell your friends, family, coworkers. Spread the word.
Yeah.
You never know who you might influence.
Couldn't agree more. And if you're feeling really motivated, get involved politically. Contact your representatives, support organizations pushing for better policies, make your voice heard. That's how things change.
It's easy to get overwhelmed by big issues like this, you know? But honestly, every little thing we do adds up. It starts with awareness and speaking up.
So true. Never underestimate your own power. Every email, every conversation, every vote, it all matters. We can create a world that supports families better.
So much to think about. We've gone global, zoomed in on the U.S., seen countries that give over a year of leave, others where it's all about moms, and some where dads are getting a real chance to be involved. What's really stuck with you through all this?
You know, it's the variety that blows my mind. We tend to think there's one right way to do parental leave, but it's just not true. Every country has its own situation, economy, culture, you name it.
It's like they're all trying different recipes. Some will flop, some might turn out amazing.
Exactly. It's a global experiment in a way, and we're seeing what works best, not just for families, but for the whole country.
And the U.S., we're kind of doing that too, right? States going their own way, that federal bill, like we're testing a bunch of futures at the same time.
And that's what I love about it. This isn't just theory. It's about real families, real kids. What kind of world are we building for them? It all comes down to the decisions we make now.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary, knowing WE have a say in this. It's not just some policy happening out there. Our actions matter.
Absolutely. Think about it. You could push for better leave at your job. You could support politicians who care about families. You can even just talk about this stuff with people, get them thinking.
So it's not just about complaining that things are bad. It's about actually doing something.
Exactly. Knowledge is power, right? We've learned a lot today, so let's use it.
Yeah.
Dig into your own state's laws, see what different people are arguing for, and then figure out your own role in all of this.
It's a journey, for sure. We've only scratched the surface here. But hopefully this deep dive has given you some things to ponder, maybe even some fuel for action.
It's been fantastic exploring all this with you. And remember, stay curious. The more we learn, the better choices we can make, both for ourselves and for the world around us.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this parental leave adventure. Keep learning, keep the conversations going, and who knows, maybe together we can create a future where all families get the support they deserve. Until next time.